Welcome to the stream. So today, I think I'm going to do 2 director's commentaries since I have not done one for the Pirate King video. I know this is the one that just came out, the historical slang, but I figured it's probably a good idea to, talk about the one that I haven't talked about yet before it's like too far out of my mind and I completely forget all the little small details about it. Just be warned, I already have, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So, Pirate King video, this was my second pirate video, back to back from another pirate video. Before this, looking through my videos here, we can see that there was another pirate video that I did right before that. This was the worst pirates you've never heard of, in which I mainly covered this lovely blonde boy, Stede Bonnet, and then briefly I covered Somali pirates. And basically the reason for that was because I originally planned on covering, many pirates in this video, but the Stede Bonnet story was so engrossing and so just, overall commanding of my attention that I decided to go ahead and just make a call out saying hey, if you guys want a part 2, let me know. And yeah, so that's kind of what the dealio was there. But this wasn't actually the part 2, this Pirate King video. This was actually an entirely separate video. This was not a continuation on worst pirates. This was just a tutorial on how to become the best pirate. So my original plan was to follow this up with another worst pirates video, the part 2. My whole plan was to make 2024 the year of the pirates, for me at least, because I just thought, fuck it, I love pirates, they're awesome, they're the best. But the reason I didn't end up doing that was because, well, there's a multitude of reasons. First and foremost, so the worst pirates video, it performed really well, but it didn't perform outstandingly well. I'm really happy with its performance, but it didn't perform as well as the Cold War video did, and it didn't perform as well as the Dumbest War Nobody Talks About video did. Even though if you look at the views, they're pretty much all around the same, right? But I'm looking at it at the way YouTube shows analytics, it's at that point in time. So if I'm looking at the analytics right now, would be 6 months after posting. How many views does this video have compared to this video or this video? And this video would be 4th place or so, 3rd or 4th or the 4th place. So that's good because that's my 4th best performing video of all time, right? But then I followed up with another video, another pirate video, and this one actually performed a little bit below expectations. Actually, it's a little bit below average. If you looked now, it'd probably be performing 8th place out of my last 10 videos. So not that great. Usually I'd be at, I don't know, over 1 million views at 3 months or so, but I'm not complaining about 800,000 views. That's I'm totally blessed to have even 3, but I did take it as kind of a sign that maybe I need to try a different topic than another pirate video. Plus, while I was working on this video, my dog, who is now my co-streamer, as you can see here in the bottom, who I can often throw into gamer mode with the nice gamer sunglasses, she passed away while I was making this video, so it just kind of made me feel like I needed to switch it up with what I was doing. And so that's why after this video, I just kind of went off of pure just gut instinct, something that grabbed my attention, that inspired me, which happened to be slurs. So I think overall, how I felt about this video, I wasn't fully happy with it. I had to take a little different of an approach when it came to writing this video and organizing it, just because of, life events that were happening at the time. Because I felt less creatively there and motivated, I had to make it a more structured process for me. I used my notebook that I had gotten. Basically, I did a lot of structured planning for the Pirate King video in that notebook. A lot of structure, a lot of notes, a lot of sub-notes, and a lot less of my normal routine when it came to video making, which was just kind of following my gut and my inner author. With that going, now is the time to go ahead and jump into the Pirate King video. But as every college grad knows, it's not our good grades or accolades that leave an impact, but rather the stupid things we do while drunk on Thirsty Thursday behind a Taco Bell that people remember us for. And while Hornigold may not have lived long enough to enjoy the dreamlike enlightenment achieved from the bite of a beef quesarito, even still would he be remembered for a tale of drunken shenanigans. One night in 1717, Hornigold and his crew were partaking in a wee bit of rum guzzling, sword fumbling, plank stumbling buffoonery when they drunkenly threw their hats into the sea. I wanted to talk about a few things here already. Just off the bat, I wanted to make sure that this intro was as fun as possible. I really wanted to hook people in with this video. First and foremost, the bird for this video is, I think, my favorite bird to date. I already loved the pirate hat bird that I got for my last pirate video, but I don't think anything beats the pirate bandana with a crown, which is done by the lovely Cass, which if we go through my description here, I always put down her website here. So if you ever want to look at her stuff, look at her work, look at whatever she's selling and merchandise She's the best artist I've ever known in my life. I love all the work that she does. It's my favorite part when it comes to making a new video. So I love this crown. She put a ton of work into this one. It's really great. And then also, this is actually like the first time I conquered one of the biggest challenges I had when it came to like texturing with my art style. I hate doing brick walls. Brick walls are so annoying because I don't know what to do other than to just draw every individual fucking brick. And that takes a lot of time. And if you guys remember, I've talked about how in my art style, like one of my like key pillars, one of my tenets when it comes to doing my style is I never use line tools. Not only does it make everything significantly harder and take a longer time to do because every single straight line that you can see here on screen is done by hand, but because I'm not using a line tool, I think it just adds a little bit of a character to it, right? Like these lines are not perfect. They're not perfectly straight. They're not all of perfect thickness, but because they're all done by hand, I think it adds a nice like cartoony feel to it that just feels more cozy in a way. So I can't use a line tool to quickly make a bunch of brick lines in perfect perspective. So what I did was I looked at other channels that did like cartoony styles, and I remember seeing in like one of these, like this like 11-year-old Cyanide and Happiness video, they did like a brick wall where it was like all red, except they had like a couple of horizontal lines and like vertical lines every once in a while. It's like a segment of bricks. So it like is enough to give your brain the idea this is a brick wall without drawing every fucking brick and making it distracting. And once I saw that, I was like, that's genius. This is what I'm going to do. So that's how I've been doing brick walls ever since. And I've done it in this video. I've done it in my most recent video, but this is how I learned how to do good brick texturing, was with this wall here. And then also this character here, which is like a lot more ornamented than all the other characters. This is actually one of my Patreon supporters. So one of the things I'm working on for my top tier patrons is drawing them all unique custom characters. And I specifically said that I would be showing them at the end of my videos, like in the credits here where I like say my top tier Patreon supporters names. But once I draw everyone's character, I'm going to be showing all of their names and their characters like raining down the screen with their names attached to them. But because I don't have them all done yet, I haven't done that in a video. But yeah, this is one of my Patreon supporters. So he got to be the first Patreon supporter to be placed in a BlueJay video, which I thought was really fun. But yeah, that's just a little bit of backstory on this idea here, or this scene. Yar! Turn off the light, would you? The sun. Whatever, just hand over your hats, they're plank the walk. Did you say hats? Can a beaver hold its breath for 15 minutes? Yes, the answer is yes. I just don't know that much about beavers. Forget it, it doesn't matter, just cuff up the hats, sailor boy. And like, that's it? Yeah, I mean, yeah. Unless you got like White Castle or something? I don't know what that is. Me neither, it just sounds really good. I really like that skit a lot. I don't know, just kind of like doing like a frat boy voice for Hornigold, who's just like really fucked up, like asking for hats the next day. This is kind of like somewhat Archer inspired. This is around the time that I was rewatching Archer again. But there was almost a different version of the skit where like he would have climbed up the ladder, he would have like been like, just the hat, and then starts like vomiting profusely and comically and like puts up a finger, just like hold on, like while he's vomiting for like 15 seconds, like just a stupid amount of time before just going, just the hats, please. So that was like an alternate version that I could have done, but I don't know, I decided to do like a dialogue comedic skit instead. I think that's a lot funnier. I like this version a lot. Sensational tales like Hornigold's have spun him a legacy that survived to this day, but even still, he isn't remembered for being the greatest pirate of all time. After all, building a legacy through alcohol poisoning is only one step towards becoming a legend, Steve, and there are many ingredients needed to bake the Pirate King pie. So, without further ado, on today's episode, I'm going to teach you how to become the king of the pirates. So yeah, as you can see here, some people thought that this might have been Stede Bonnet, but because the hair is so similar, this is actually Steve. This is a brand new character, not Stede Bonnet. And while the hair does look similar to Stede Bonnet's hair, which you can see here in this thumbnail, that's Stede Bonnet, and this is Steve. Very similar colored hair, similar style, but this is more like messy and curly, while this is more like straight and middle parted, right? The difference is, I actually did have an inspiration when it came to doing this character's hair, so I'm just gonna go ahead and pull up a picture real quick. So I had been reading this manga called Monster, which is this really cool, it's like a murder mystery manga where it's about like a surgeon, like one of the best surgeons in Germany, was like, I don't need to like get into a whole big explanation. Basically, there is like this life that he saved who becomes a serial killer, and he feels kind of responsible for for being the one to like enable this behavior, because he saved him when he was a kid, and then he like escaped the hospital and went missing, and then like would go on to become a serial killer. But he had actually been a serial killer around that time. So this character was actually the inspiration for good old Steve. But this is what he looks like. So he is actually the inspiration. So this is kind of what he looks like. This was my inspiration. I have a picture I forgot that I wanted to show for the director's commentary, but I'm not gonna be able to find it that quickly. Basically, I had like the book open and like pinned up on my desk for this one specific panel that had like a really good view on his hair. And because of kind of his like sociopathic personality, he was the inspiration for Steve. And you'll see kind of like a character development of Steve throughout the video that more and more reflects this antagonist from the manga Monster that I had been reading. I haven't seen the show and I haven't finished the series. I'm on like book 2 right now, but he's the inspiration for him, and hopefully that kind of like came across a little bit. But yeah, he is the new victim in this show, or in this episode. Putting a pin in that, but first, who are you and why are you talking? Well, normally I'd be talking to my other victim, Alex, but apparently he's in a psych ward due to acute psychological trauma or whatever. So one thing that I'm glad, I don't think anyone pointed it out, but I was afraid someone would. This is 2 left hands. Like I didn't like draw another version where the hand is like the thumb is on the other side. I just like used the same image. And I'm like, there's gonna be some fuckers that are like, why do you have 2 left hands? There should be one with the thumb on the other side. But no, it did. At least I don't remember seeing any comments like that. But yeah, like that's like one of the biggest challenges I have with this PNG character for myself. I can't really do like air quotes when I'm trying to do air quotes. So I was like, fuck it. I'll have him like invent ghost hands for this very specific explanation. I have like an evolution with the BlueJay universe, the BJU, as I've talked about. All the characters go through character development over the course of the videos, and you can tell, like if you watch my earliest videos, BlueJay is kind of like just, he sounds like a normal guy. You know, he's not crazy and sociopathic and violent. He's just like a dude talking about history, right? But as we go on and on and on, he develops more of a god complex and becomes a lot more violent and takes a lot more joy in seeing the pain in others. And so this is like another evolution of that. Now he's conjuring up hands. So, you know, he's really expressing his control over the universe by doing like these like small things, and the whole goal of it is to kind of like just like implant that like seed in the viewer's head that like BlueJay is like this omniscient like entity that can just take control of the entire situation and no one has any power around him. But anyway, and then yeah, I thought it'd be funny to have like a little character evolution where Alex, who I had normally kidnapped and taken back in time to all these videos, now he's just like, he's been having a bad time. If you don't remember, the last time we saw him was in the Cold War video. And in that video, there was 3 separate times that he got splattered with blood from people being executed. He's been through a lot. You know, he had the Cold War video, he had the Wild West video, he had Victorian London. He's been going back in time and experiencing some of the worst things and almost dying multiple times. So he's not doing good mentally. So he's taking a break on the channel. He is going through therapy and trying to recuperate himself and just find humanity again. So BlueJay has now taken another victim, Steve. And Steve is different from BlueJay, or Steve is different from not BlueJay, Alex. And we'll see that as the video continues. And then we'll also see why Steve has not returned yet and hasn't been in the next video where there's a different person. And this is Birb lore, yes. By the way, I don't 100% explain everything. I don't think lore and all that should be completely up to the author. You know what I mean? Like, I like it when a universe's lore is also left up to the interpretation. If I told you everything and every like correct meaning behind an artistic choice that I might make, that kind of detracts from the point of art, which is to interpret it and come up with your own conclusions. So I'll tell you my mindset behind a lot of my decisions, but I won't like say this is exactly the right answer, if that makes sense. Whether it's engineers and high salaries or Minecraft YouTubers and access to miners, every job needs a proper incentive. This was like around the time that, I can't remember who it was specifically, but there's just a lot of controversy around Minecraft YouTubers and being inappropriate with miners and messaging. And I think like that's obviously terrible. So, you know, that's like a common joke, right? And I looked into it and there's just like a lot of terrible things that have been reported to have happened. I don't even remember much about this guy. I had asked like some some friends, like if they knew of like Minecraft YouTubers, when everyone talked about these Minecraft YouTubers doing terrible things, like who are they talking about? This is like apparently the biggest offender. And then Dream is just all kinds of problems. And then there was a former member of the Yogs cast who had controversies when it came to minors as well. From what I understand, it's not the entire Yogs cast, so don't get too upset. I think I had like one comment that was like, I got mad when I saw the Yogs cast, and then I remembered like insert name, and so I was like, okay, good. I didn't get a lot of heat for this joke, but yeah. But with drastic tactics come drastic results, and many of these pressed sailors would end up mutinying or deserting their posts, thus turning to a life of piracy. But for you, we can rule out kidnapping, seeing as you live far from the ocean in this disgusting place I can't even pronounce. Kentucky? Bless you. So, just a little bit of like narrative notes. So at the beginning of the video, BlueJay like just stumbles upon Steve, right? You can see him here. He's just like reading a book, and when he like BlueJay like pops in the frame, he gets startled and drops it because like there's a floating bird bigger than him in front of him all of a sudden talking, but without moving any part of his body. That's a terrifying thing to see for anyone, right? So after that, the intro happens, and then BlueJay teleports him to this beach, and then you can tell that he doesn't know why he's there, Steve, because he's like looking down. He's like, what the fuck? Why am I dressed as a pirate? And then he's like looking around like, where the fuck am I? And he's like, why is there like a pirate ship in the background and all that? So this isn't quite yet back in time. So because after this, like BlueJay is like off and explaining everything that we just watched, right? And like in this like whole portion of the video. And while BlueJay is explaining, Steve goes home. So like you can see as like BlueJay comes in, like Steve is like sitting on his bed. He's sitting on his bed and he's like, oh, thank God that's all over with. And then he's like, oh shit, he's here. So he's like at home and he realizes he's not out of the situation yet. He gets out of bed. And then like BlueJay leaves again. And then when BlueJay comes back, now he's playing right here. I was able to fit in my JoJo reference for the video because I try to do a JoJo reference in all my videos. I actually recorded myself playing All-Star Battle R, and I recorded it myself, and I had it so that basically after BlueJay comes in, so you can see here at the start, so he's playing the game, he did a super move, he's playing as Giorno, where he's like going into Golden Experience Requiem, and I actually recorded it so that like while Steve is like looking at what BlueJay's saying, his character is AFK right here because he's not controlling him, so like the opponent is just beating him up and he's not fighting back. So like I actually went through the effort of making sure the gameplay even made sense, because if he's AFK, it wouldn't make sense to just have like basic footage of All-Star Battle R, because then like both characters would be fighting, and like how is he fighting when he's not holding the controller? So I went through and actually like did those like little bit of details. And another reason I did this is because me personally, I'm such a like little nitpicker when it comes to small details in videos and movies. If like a thing doesn't line up with consistency, it bothers me. Maybe I'm a little autistic in that way, but it just does, right? So like if I was watching this and if both characters were fighting, that would really bother me. Or like when I'm watching a movie and like two characters go to a bar and they order drinks, and they have like, you know, like they sit down and he's like gin and tonic, and then he like turns to the other character and they're talking about like overthrowing the government or whatever, and then like the scene ends, so they get up and they walk away. I would be like, you didn't fucking wait for your drink, dude. What do you gotta do that and pay? You can't just leave. Like that bothers me. Like I need to have the details fulfilled, right? I need to have that. Or like when a character has a revolver and he shoots 7 times, I'm like, there's 6 bullets in that fucker. What are you doing? You can't do that. Like small things. I need to have those consistencies covered. So that's me trying to cover consistency. And so furthermore, Steve is playing as Giorno, and I made that artistic choice to have him achieve his Requiem form right as BlueJay came into frame. Essentially, his character gets powered up with divine, almighty, and ever godlike power, and so I wanted this transformation to happen right as BlueJay came into frame to make it symbolic of the BlueJay character's omnipresent and godlike power. So basically, in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, there are these things called stand arrows, and if you like stab your stand arrow into your stand, which is like this, it's a manifestation of like your psychic energy, right? These like beings that like fight for you. Like that's what this little guy is here. And a stand arrow basically like just is an insane power up, and he becomes like the most overpowered thing ever. So I thought it would be kind of like a neat like little artistic choice to have him transform into his Requiem form when BlueJay comes on the screen, to symbolize the fact that BlueJay, similar to Giorno when he achieves Requiem, is God. So yeah, just like another little artistic choice that also fit in with consistency. So I wanted to make sure I talked about that note. So ironically, the same nations who struggled combating piracy also fueled said piracy, as the former privateers would continue raiding ships, including those of their former state sponsors. These waves of piracy could be so dramatic, in fact, that once the War of Spanish Succession ended in 1714, it single-handedly brought about the third era of the golden age of piracy. First of all, I'm kind of like proud of this little graphic here. I wanted to make sure I could really kind of like bring like the full scope of the golden age of piracy into as simple of a picture as possible, because there's like three little eras of when it comes to the golden age, which really was like almost a whole 100 years. There's the buccaneering period in the earlier periods of the piracy or the golden age. There's the pirate round. This period is notable for pirates making the round, where they went around the Horn of Africa towards the Indian Ocean, and that was kind of like the trademark practice of that period. And then the post-Spanish Succession, which is usually the area that's talked about the most, I would say. It is the time where you had most of the famous stories being talked about, including like, you know, Stede Bonnet, he was in the post-Spanish Succession period. Benjamin Hornigold was in the post-Spanish Succession period. Basically, all of the famous pirates you hear about usually are talked about from this period. Not all of them, but a good amount of them. And so, yeah, I like this graphic. I just wanted to like do some little scribbly lines here so you can see. I like did my best to eyeball like the dates. Like obviously it's not to scale. Like this is the smallest period, but also the most famous one probably. So yeah, that's like the timeline there. But yes, so also this is, in this video, I did my hardest yet to find BlueJay Penny. So for those of you who don't know, I always hide a BlueJay Penny in all of my videos somewhere on screen. And I first introduced my BlueJay Penny back in my Victorian London video. And ever since this video, I have hidden a BlueJay Penny in every single video except for my Easter Rising video, because that was live action. But the BlueJay Penny in this video, you can see hidden right here on the cutlass of this pirate climbing on board the ship. I was annoyed because the video before this, I thought I hid the penny really well. I hid it in a treasure chest of coins even, where it blended in, and I cut off half of it because it was like going underneath the lip of the treasure chest. But still, within like 15 minutes of the video going live, I was like, someone was like, I found the penny, and pinged me. And I was like, well, fuck you, that's annoying. I'm gonna make this one hard as fuck to find. And this one blended in really well right here. So this one took still not even 24 hours to find. I can't remember the exact time, but someone found it really, really fast. And the individual that found it was the wonderful and lovely and honestly quite cute Decalink. He found the penny within 24 hours. That was like 22 hours after uploading. He found it. And so he or she, I guess I don't really know, got the exclusive Penny Hunters role that's on my Discord. Everyone that finds the penny first gets the Penny Hunters role, and it's in a little exclusive club. And then actually, Decalink found the penny in the newest video first too. So I had to make a whole new role for someone that finds the penny first twice. So yeah, they're now the only person that has the metal detector role. So I'm afraid he or she is gonna be the one finding the penny first every single time, because they're on a roll. He found that one within like that was like within 3 hours or 2.5 hours it took. Or actually less than that. I think I saw it like an hour later. I think it was like within an hour that he found the one in this slang video that we'll get to in a second. But anyway, that's where the hidden penny is. Wave of piracy, ocean waves. That's kind of funny. Wow, Steve, when's the Netflix special? Anyway, as we already know, you're no privateer. So with the first two ruled out, it looks like we'll have to go with option 3 for you, which is poverty. So this scene is actually really crucial. If you didn't notice, this is the first time a scene transition is initiated by a character other than BlueJay. Steve here pulled the screen away and back to his room to make a comment on what BlueJay was talking about. This annoys the BlueJay character, who up until now has enjoyed unparalleled levels of control and power in all of his videos. So then after he says this, wave of piracy, ocean waves. That's kind of funny. Wow, Steve, when's the Netflix special? He stifles his annoyance as best as he can, and then just like makes like a backhanded joke at the expense of Steve. But right now he's kind of annoyed with Steve because Steve took control. That's something BlueJay's not used to. He's used to everyone being afraid and going like, wah, I'm scared, and that makes BlueJay happy. But this guy, he made a joke. He's only 6 minutes into this video. He is experiencing, you know, what should be a terrifying experience for anyone. A god bird is now doing all this random commentary to you that should be scary. You should be thinking that you're high or you're like fucked in the head, but nope, he's making jokes, and that is like kind of making BlueJay uncomfortable. So he makes like like a backhanded joke at him, and then steals all his shit. So while he wouldn't acknowledge it himself, orchestrating a bunch of pirates to go and steal all of Steve's stuff for the purpose of a lesson, quote unquote, is actually a subconscious attempt by BlueJay, while he doesn't really realize it himself yet, to one-up him from stealing the camera away from him previously. BlueJay just tries to like hammer home, no, I am the one in control, and to prove that, I'm taking all of your shit. So that's kind of like his overreacted response, because before, he was just gonna say like, let's say you're poor, and then talk about that. But no, he had to like actually make him poor for this like lesson to go through. So yeah, that's kind of like why that happened. A little lore there. Not all mutinies involve violence, however. For the bloodless ones, historians prefer to use the term lame. But regardless of style, what's really important here, Steve, is to make sure you're the one organizing the mutiny. Sure, it's a high risk, high reward tactic, but by leading a successful mutiny, you stand a pretty good chance of landing the role of pirate captain when all is said and done. And the high risk? Details, Steve. Just keep your chin up. Because if you fail, a rope will do it for you. Now, how you carry out the mutiny will depend on the situation, but so long as you balance the equation of more men willing to stab the captain than defend them, odds are you'll end up successful and can focus on that pirate captain role. So basically, this equation of piratical tomfoolery was devised by yours truly. Believe it or not, this is not a real equation, but basically the equation is if the angry people minus the non-angry people is equal to a positive number, basically equal to A equals the absolute value of A, which means like the A is a positive number, is essentially what this is saying. That means that there is more of the angry people, because that's the only way you can have a positive number here. That means that you succeed at a mutiny if you have more people willing to mutiny. I mean, technically you could do a mutiny with less people, but just for the sake of argument, let's say you need most people on board with a mutiny to get away with a mutiny. And that's my equation. So yeah, I did that for any engineer nerds in my audience, which is a lot, I would imagine. Okay, so maybe if I kill the most people and mutilate their bodies, the other pirates will see that and decide to follow me as captain. Damn, Steve, I didn't know you're a little freak like that. I mean, that's not my advice, but hey, if you got a little itch that needs scratching, have at it, King. No, okay, well, how do I be a pirate captain? Getting a bit too close to CGP Gray there, bud. That is one of the first examples there of Steve showing that he is quite different from Alex. Not only is he not getting scared and overwhelmed, but he is coming up with shit that is on the level of fucked up and maybe even more fucked up than BlueJay. So that kind of surprised him. That made him go like, damn, Steve, like, didn't know you're a little freak like that. He's just kind of like, who am I dealing with here? This isn't what I'm used to. Everyone I kidnap gets all scared and they shit their pants and cry. This guy's like on board and trying to figure out how to become a pirate captain. They're not supposed to actually figure out how to live in this era. They're supposed to be scared and want to go back home and play their video games. So BlueJay is just kind of like, again, taking this in and internalizing it. Oh, and I forgot to say, I did say like getting a bit too close to CGP Gray there, bud. He has a video that's called How to Become a Pirate Captain. That's like what he said, like, okay, so then how do I be a pirate captain? And I'm like, I'm getting a bit too close to CGP Gray there, bud. Because I'm trying to be, this is not a CGP Gray video. This is how to become the pirate king, not captain, specifically. So ironically, the gangs of violent criminals elected their leaders based more off respect rather than fear. So don't do crazy murder stuff. No, you can desecrate as many corpses as your little heart desires, Steve. All I'm saying is to make sure that when you're serving up severed toes to your victims like pigs in a blanket, make sure your fellow men know that they're in a safe space. For them. So that scene was extra fucked up because BlueJay again is trying to kind of one up Steve. Steve was like, okay, so if I kill enough people and mutilate their bodies, everyone will follow me as captain. BlueJay's like, damn, Steve, what the fuck? And so he's like, okay, now I gotta go a step further. So he says, when you're serving up severed toes to your victims like pigs in a blanket, make sure everyone's on board with chowing down a little bit. He's like, I'm more fucked up than you, okay? Hop off my dick. This is my video. You're gonna be a victim to me. I'm not the victim here. That's kind of like what's going on below the surface. So how do I build a reputation? Well, a little degenerate like you could always go the Lolan A route. You know, hacking limbs, popping eyeballs, the works. I'm sorry? Yeah, it's even said he cut out some dude's heart and took a bite of it once. How would that even work? Well, a lot easier than you'd think, really. This is one of the goriest videos I've ever had to draw, by the way. Again, BlueJay is he's trying his darndest to get Steve kind of like scared and overwhelmed. If instead, like, he's just kind of like, how would this work? He's not like, oh my god, there is a giant open chest chest cavity in front of me with a man eating a heart with just gratuitous amounts of blood. There's like basically that Neversoft logo, the old video game company, with like the eyeball popped out. Like there's a whole bunch of fucked up shit going on right now, and he's just kind of like, huh, how does this work for me? Like, he's not like scared. Being a pirate means being a brand, one of terror, pain, and misery. It demands compliance and the promise of violence, save for those who avoid defiance. To build your rep is to build this brand, daily PR that must be carefully planned. So with all this in mind and everything at hand, let's quiz you on scenarios to see where you land. So yeah, basically, you know how I was talking about earlier when it comes to flow, and that's how I kind of do my writing, is to achieve this flow and following the rhythm and making sure I don't go off beat. That was really heavily manifested here, not only with that segment, and I'm really proud of that segment and like all the rhyme and how I was able to like put it all together, basically talking about like what it means to be a pirate, but it was also from a macro scale a good like chaser to this like over the top silliness of that skit. I went from like very dumb, very silly to now very serious rhyming and explaining like in a more serious tone what it means to be a pirate and like what is the message that pirates are trying to build and send on the high seas. It means being someone who can invoke fear upon everyone that you come across. It's someone who you can raise a single flag and from a mile away people will know exactly what that means. It's all about a brand. It's about building a very strong brand that's instantly recognizable and transcends both language and culture. So it's like a really serious topic, really. At the end of the day, we're laughing about it and it's really silly, but it's a serious thing. It's a very real period of time that caused a lot of terror and pain for like a plethora of people on the high seas. So this was kind of like a little chaser to the goofiness and also a good segue. So I like that section, particularly in this video. I think that was an example. I've always found that little snippet right there to be some of my best writing so far on the BlueJay channel, that paragraph. However, I don't necessarily think this video overall is my best written video. I think like there are times where I thought it kind of came across a little flat or simplistic and I was just trying to get it done, but I liked that part a lot. You approach a British frigate that attempted to run to no avail. You board them without a fight and are now face to face with a cowering crew, surrendered and horrified. What do? Are they crying? Some of them are, sure. I take the most composed man and slowly sever the tendons in his arms until the entire crew is crying. Jesus Christ, Steve! I'm supposed to be the fucked up one. Did I get it right? No. Not at all. We want to encourage a surrender without a fight. You don't torture these poor sailors. Oh, my bad. Yeah, tell that to Mike's 8-year-old daughter. So that is probably where it has manifested the most, right? I've been talking so many times tonight about how Steve is different from Alex. He's pretty fucked up. He's becoming more and more sociopathic throughout the episode. So BlueJay is, for the first time now, kind of overtly noticing and admitting to being annoyed by Steve. He's mad that, like, Steve is being more fucked up than BlueJay. He's supposed to be the fucked up one. So, like, now that Steve, like, has said the most fucked up thing yet about slowly severing the tendons in the arms of this innocent man until everyone's crying on the ship. Like, BlueJay's like, what the fuck? Dude, you're like stealing my thunder. This is my thing. The people watch me to hear all my fucked up thoughts, not yours. Okay, your role is to be scared. Your role is to be sad. And so BlueJay's getting more annoyed than ever now. And so we're seeing, as Steve is in the presence of someone else who's very fucked up, Steve is letting it come out more and more and more. And now that we're almost done with the video, he's getting more and more comfortable. And that's kind of like what I was trying to build a narrative from throughout the video. Steve getting more and more comfortable being fucked up, seeing he's in an environment that enables it, and he's around someone that actively encourages that mindset, but who he doesn't really realize is kind of annoyed with him for basically doing what BlueJay's trying to tell him to do. So it's kind of ironic, and it's supposed to kind of like highlight the insecurity that BlueJay has as a character. He's feeling insecure because he wants to craft this very specific image for himself, this very specific brand. And when anyone is stepping on his toes, and he's starting to see how annoyed he's getting at the fact that there's someone else who could be more fucked up than him, and it's basically just highlighting how much BlueJay wants to be in power and how he doesn't like it when it feels like there's someone else around who can take the attention more, who can take that. He's kind of like, in a way, he's kind of like the immature class clown that likes to make those outbursts in class and doesn't really like it when there's another kid that starts to do it. So that's kind of like what BlueJay is feeling right now, because BlueJay is a flawed character. He would never admit it, but he is. he can be self-conscious, he has a superiority complex, and he truly believes that he is better than everyone and wants to feel completely in control at all times. He doesn't want that taken away, and Steve is starting to step on his toes. While building your reputation will be hard work, the more effort you put in, the bigger the gains you'll realize. Kind of like training your muscles to failure. Oh boy, I bet I could do one more. I forgot about that skit. That's also a contender for my favorite skit. Anyway, little note here. There's a giant goose sculpture on the top of this pirate ship, a little callback to the skit from earlier. A pirate code was essentially a code of conduct with a sexier name. They detailed things like various rules, divisions of loot, and even injury compensation, all of which helped keep the savage sailors docile, like giving a preteen a prime. There was a few things I forgot to mention. First of all, Da Rules. This is like a little callback to the Fairly Odd Parents. Like the King Fairy, or like the fairy leader, had like a book like called Da Rules. You had to follow Da Rules, and it was spelled like that. And this slap here, I wanted to like figure out how to animate I couldn't like animate a slap that looked satisfying, so I looked up. It was the like that famous like meme image of Batman slapping Robin. I used that as like a reference for like how to draw a good like comic slap. I actually did this again in my last video, the historical slang one, but that's kind of like where I got like this little slap drawing from, so I really liked how this looked. So, just like with old game cartridges, you may need to blow on them every once in a while to keep things running smoothly. Not again. You know what you have to do, William. Oh dear Lord. That was like, I don't know, I guess kind of like Meat Canyon-esque. I just thought, like, the idea of, like, blowing on a game cartridge and the game cartridge, like, is sentient. I don't know why I thought of that, but it was really fun to animate and kind of a challenge because I had never done, like, a full eye-opening animation before. So, like, you can go through frame by frame and see how I did it. I kind of, like, tried to make it, like, feel sticky in a way when it opens. Not only with the sound effect used, but, like, with how the eyelid opens, it's, like, bent down, like, as if it's, like, coming off and like fighting like some stickiness or whatever. And then I drew a couple frames of it so that it would be shaking the whole time, because I see a lot of, I don't know what you really call that style, but like the shaky line art style that you'll see a lot in things like Salad Fingers, or like certain animators like to do that like on the internet a lot. I just thought what you have to do, William. It really added to like the eeriness of the scene. Oh yeah, it's also my first time lip syncing on this channel. I drew mouths for every syllable. I used like a lip sync guide to draw those mouths. Bartholomew Roberts, for example, restricted his crew's gambling, drinking, and womanizing to make sure they stayed on top of their game. A set of morals that surely filled the pompous pirate with pride for living such a noble life, which ended in battle surrounded by his drunk crew. He died in battle. He got hit by, I think it was a grape shot. Like I said, it's been a long time since I researched this, but the story goes that his crew were hungover from a lot of drinking or drunk, and so like they were unprepared for a battle, and he was killed by cannon fire during a battle. So it's just kind of like, it's a little ironic because he was kind of like really strict on like vices, and yet it was somewhat of a contributing factor to his demise. Our little William loved to eat, so much so that over 100 food-related words are credited to him in the Oxford English Dictionary, many of which are rather whimsical combinations of adjectives and nouns, like whistling duck or sucking fish. I had a lot of fun drawing this video. At this point in time, I was towards the end of it. This was kind of therapeutic. It was really helping me get over the loss of Mango, and like drawing all these like really goofy, stupid drawings that just made me laugh. It really helped. And like looking back on it, it's kind of like filling me with this somewhat sad but like sense of joy, because I know it helped me feel better. And also a key thing to note here, a lot of sources will state incorrectly that William Dampier invented all of these words. That's not necessarily true. These are, like as I noted here, to be clear, words in which he was the first known written source for, not necessarily the one who originated these words. So that could mean some of these words had been in use orally for some time, and he was just the first person to write them down. We don't know, or I don't know, I guess specifically, if there are some of these words that he actually was the originator of. That very well could be the case, but to be clear, when people talk about him having invented over 100 words, like you'll see that in a ton of articles, and this kind of goes back to what I always like harp on in all these directors' commentaries. Be thorough when it comes to researching things, because you'll have a lot of sources talk with a lot of confidence about something that's usually a small detail, but also kind of a crucial detail, because there are a lot of sources out there that'll say William Dampier invented over 100 English words. That is not necessarily true. He is the original written source, because what they'll do is they'll go on the Oxford English Dictionary, they'll filter for William Dampier and like check the like first or like the original author box, and it'll show 132 results like you can see here. I did the exact same thing, but that's just him being the first written source. That does not mean he invented those words, to be clear. So just be careful with your research. It's always good to, before you make any bold claims, to make sure said claims are actually accurate and not exaggerations. It is the bane of my existence being an obscure history YouTuber, because I will inevitably make mistakes, but I try harder every time to learn from those mistakes. But just a small little note there. Zheng Yi Sao amassed the world's largest pirate fleet of 60,000 men, which is still less than half as many diabolical fiends in one place as a BTS concert. I wanted to make sure I talked about Zheng Yi Sao, and I very well could be butchering that pronunciation. I've heard it being said so many different ways, and she also has like a million different names. I wanted to make sure I mentioned her because she is often cited as the most successful pirate of all time, because not only did she amass the biggest pirate fleet ever, over 60,000 pirates, and just dominate the like seas around China for a long time. She started out as a prostitute, and then I think, take it with a grain of salt, in a long time since I've researched this, I believe she like made a deal with the government to kind of stop, and then she retired and like opened up businesses or something along those lines. She got away with it, essentially, is the key, and like remained relevant, I believe. So she's like a crazy example, because the one I constantly talk about in this video, Henry Every, specifically because he's called the king of the pirates, he got away with it, but we also don't really know what happened to him afterwards. He just kind of like got away and vanished, but in a way that we're pretty sure he survived, because there are sightings of him past the pirate life. So, but she like didn't have to hide. She was that successful. Now, a reason that I didn't talk about her specifically throughout this video more was because she was not a golden age pirate. She was active post golden age. She was born in 1775. So when she was a pirate, she was active from 1801 to 1810. And I wanted to keep this video specific to the golden age of piracy. However, I wanted to give credit where credit was due. So I wanted to at least mention her, because I know people would probably be a little upset if I didn't, because she is extremely notable. And I'm talking about being the most successful pirate. So I wanted to make sure like I at least like threw in like a little, there you go, credit queen. You did awesome shit. So much so that people made art about your shit, which is awesome. The golden age of piracy, 10 out of 10 stars.
You smell the treat? Yeah? Okay, only on one hand here.
Someone's excited.
Smell that? What's that? What's that? Can you sit for me? Can you sit?
So yeah, I wanted to, so after Mango died, so it was the week, April 10th, and like the week before that, I was visiting my parents' home, because she's my family dog, and I got to see her, and you know, it's always like a few months when I come home and visit, like between visits, and I get to do all my favorite things, like take her on a walk, I play with her, I get to like hang out with her outside, I got to do all my favorite things with Mango, and I'm just really, really happy, because when she passed, it wasn't expected that night, the night of April 10th, she had lost control of her back legs, like she was collapsing, and she couldn't really control her bowels and stuff, so she had been pooping a lot in bed and all that. But yeah, she really wasn't able to walk or anything, and so it was just like a very big, like her legs had been very stiff for a while, especially her back legs, but this was kind of like she couldn't stand, like they had given out. And so I didn't know when I left that like she would be dying the next day, and I'm glad I that I didn't know, but I'm just so happy that I visited her when I did, because it had been since like December that I had last been home to see her. So it'd been a few months, and then I came home, I got to see her, and I have like the vivid memory of like petting her and saying I love you and goodbye, and taking a picture of her as I pet her, and then go to the airport. And it felt like almost poetic, that like almost like she was waiting to see me one more time before letting go, because she was old at this point. She was almost 15 years old, and so she was like, we all knew it would be happening sometime, but I thought she was doing so good that like it could have been like another few years even, because like all things considered, she would still run run and everything. Her back legs were really stiff and it was hard for her to like use the restroom and stuff, but she would still run every once in a while. So after she passed, that entire day, like I woke up to the text that she had been put down. It happened like early in the morning, because like they went to the vet as soon as they possibly could, and they had to come in early, and they decided then and there that like what they could have done, because she was having, basically what they think it was nerve damage in her lower spine that was preventing her back legs from working. So there was the choice of either putting a steroid shot in her back to hopefully see if she can regain control, or deciding that it wasn't really worth it. And I think it was the right choice, because at that point it's like you're just prolonging life for the sake of prolonging it, and it'd be a gamble, and it wouldn't really be the best quality of life. So, but yeah, like the whole next day I just went through every single picture I ever had, and there were so many. I spent so long trying to decide which ones I wanted to honor her, and I have a good mix here. I took this photo, like the full photo of this I really love. It was my background photo on my computer like throughout all of high school, but it was like an action shot I took with like a nice like DSLR Canon camera that my dad had from work. We took her to this place for a hike, and she was like running around like crazy. She was like, I'm not even shitting you when I say she was the fastest dog ever. Like every time we took her to any dog park, no dog could ever keep up with her, and this is her like running around in a creek, and I got this like really crazy action shot of her like doing this like turn towards me. So I used that one because it's one of my favorite photos I've ever taken of her. And then this is one from her at a outdoor music festival, and she just looks so happy in this photo. I really love it. She's like posing and everything. She's got like the nice like golden light going on. So it was really good. And then this is one of my favorite videos. This is, I think, from 2019. It might have been in the 2020s, but she's like a little older in this video. But yeah, this is just like I went out and got her like a cupcake for her birthday, and I was like a little embarrassed using this because you can hear me talking in like my dog voice, you know, but I didn't care. I loved her, so I was like, I want to use this video. I love it, even though I'm like a little embarrassed, and I'm like, you want a tweet, girl? You want a tweet? But anyway, it's not that deep. I'm sure no one is like, huh, he sounds awkward. Anyway, I just loved her, like sticking her head in the bag. There's so many other pictures of her that I love, and one of the coolest things ever was I had a handful of fans that made the best art. Like they made fan art in honor of Mango. So this is also a picture of her that I really like. Let me pull it up here, where she like stuck her head into the bag, and it was like through the handle, so her little snoot was inside, and grabbed her treat, and she tried to pull it out, but it couldn't fit through the loop, and she was just like carrying the bag around, and she was so excited. A lovely fan took that picture. His name is Duck, and he made like a little drawing for it, and that's this one here. And it was really nice of him to do it. I really liked it. It made my dad so happy. My family loved it. He wanted to frame this just because like someone decided to do that, right? And then I had another fan a few days later also decide to his name is DS Monkey Art or Monkeys Art. He drew the best picture ever for Mango with me on top of Mango's head, and I was just so like awestruck that like this was made. I love this picture so much. Not only is it like one of the best BlueJay fan art I've ever had, but the best like Mango fan art I've ever had. This meant the world to me. This was like one of those things that made a tangible difference in my grieving process. Like I felt significantly better for having this, and so I framed it. I like got it sent in to a company to like print it like in high quality and frame it because I love it so much. This was like one of the best things anyone period has ever given me. It meant so much. And so you can follow him on Instagram. I follow him on Instagram, DS Mokri. I always say monkey art. It's Mokri's art, and I even told him that. Like I always say monkey art. DS Mokri's art. Go check him out. He does a lot of great stuff. He's also always active in my Discord, posting art in the art channel. So he does a lot of great stuff. So anyway, yes, this video is dedicated to her, and then the Patreon supporters here. I have to honor them. So yeah, but thank you to all these are specifically the top tier Patreon supporters because I don't have enough room to do everyone's name. So I saved that for the top tier. So thank you for helping fund this video. And you too can help fund the video if you would like on my Patreon, patreon.com/BlueJayYT. So yeah, that's this video. I will now finally open it up to questions because I know I've seen a lot roll in. Question: who wins, Steve or BlueJay? So it depends on how you define win. They both kind of won. BlueJay won because he just inherently has more power, but Steve kind of won because he really bothered BlueJay. That's a win. It's a win when you can stick it to authority, right? Even though the authority has the authority. He did it though. He was was successful in getting under BlueJay's skin. So that was pretty unique. And that is why at the end of this video, he doesn't come back in this video. He could have, and Alex is still going through psychiatric care, so he can't come back. Steve didn't come back because BlueJay was really annoyed with how things didn't go according to plan. And that actually would be a really good segue into this video and how I structured this one differently.